competitiveness. Mr. Speaker, the expressway will feature 8 major interchanges, each designed to ease urban congestion and improve regional connectivity. The interchanges will be located at the Accra Hub, Adesso, Esaman Kese, Achem Oda, Ofuase, Lake Bosumtwe, and Kumasi. Mr. Speaker, for emphasis, the expressway will feature 8 major interchanges, each designed to ease urban congestion and improve regional connectivity. The interchanges will be located at the Accra Hub, Adesso, Isaman Kese, Achem Odan, Ofuase, Lake Bosumtwe, and Kumasi. Mr. Speaker, it will also include 3 major bridges over the Birim and Pra rivers. Right Honorable Speaker, the project will include 4 service areas equipped with emergency medical facilities, fire stations, maintenance and rescue centers, catering rest stops, fuel stations, electric vehicle charging stations, and parking lots.
To sustain these gains, we will, among others, do the following. We'll maintain fiscal discipline through continued implementation of prudent policies to promote fiscal and debt sustainability. We will continue the aggressive revenue mobilization by strengthening tax collection systems and broadening the tax base to increase domestic revenue without overburdening the citizens. Mr. Speaker, we will accelerate structural reforms in public financial management, including transparency and accountability measures to improve efficiency and reduce corruption. Mr. Speaker, we will strengthen monetary policy framework, and the central bank will lead this to complement the effort that we are doing. Mr. Speaker, we will diversify the economy through investment in sectors beyond traditional export to reduce the vulnerability to commodity price shocks and continue to maintain strong relationship with our international financial institutions and development partners to support ongoing reforms and assess technical assistance. So, Speaker, it's expected that other rating agencies, namely S&P and Moody's, will follow suit, given the remarkable progress we are making in ensuring economic stability and promoting inclusive growth. Right Honorable Speaker, this is just the beginning. We are determined to do better than B-. Ghana indeed deserves better than B-. Right Honorable Speaker, I now take you to fiscal policies and give you an update. Mr. Speaker, I start with VAT reforms. Mr. Speaker, in the 2025 budget statement, we reaffirmed our commitment to the people of Ghana and the business community to undertake comprehensive value-added tax reforms this year. These reforms are aimed at addressing the distortions and cascading effect inherent in the current VAT structure. To support this effort, we also committed to seeking technical assistance from the International Monetary Fund, the IMF, and engage the people of Ghana. So, Speaker, I'm pleased to report that we have successfully completed our engagement with the IMF. Currently, the Ghana Revenue Authority, together with the Ministry of Finance, is undertaking a nationwide consultation process to sensitize key players in the trade and business sector on the VAT reform and solicit feedback from them. Right Honorable Speaker, the Ministry of Finance hopes to complete this process by September 2025, prepare a new VAT bill by October 2025, and submit same to Parliament as part of the 2026 budget statement. Mr. Speaker, I would like to reassure the people of Ghana that at the minimum, the following will happen as part of the VAT Act. Amendment Bill. Mr. Speaker, COVID levy will be abolished. The effective VAT rate will be reduced. The punitive cascading effect of the GET Fund and NHIS levy will be removed. VAT flat rate will be removed, and a unified VAT rate will be implemented. The VAT registration threshold will be increased to exempt small and micro businesses, and compliance will be improved through public education, awareness creation, and the introduction of fiscal electronic devices will be deployed. So, Speaker, I now take you to expenditure measures as part of the fiscal. Right, Honorable Speaker, as part of the fiscal consolidation strategy, we have taken measures to sanitize public sector payroll and rid it of ghost names. Subsequently, we engaged the Ghana Audit Service to undertake a nationwide payroll audit across all 16 regions of the country. The Speaker, the Audit Service has completed 91% of the payroll audit. So far, the Audit Service has not been able to identify or verify over 14,000 workers.
The issue of academic freedom for the universities, that is, institutional autonomy, also became a vexed matter between government and ASAs. This is attributed to the absence of democratic control of university administration, the blatant refusal of university administration to allow for participatory decision-making, arbitrariness, and high-handedness on the part of university authorities. While ASAs collaborated well with student leadership to confront violations of institutional autonomy, little was done to improve relationship with students within the classroom. However, in the case of Tanzania, something different happened on the 19th of April, 1990, where 12 delegates from autonomous staff associations of 6 institutions of higher education in Tanzania, other representatives from some 8 other institutions of higher education who did not as yet have staff associations and student representatives met in Dar to adopt the Dar es Salaam Declaration on Academic Freedom and Social Responsibility of Academics.
He has labored, he has suffered to lead his people into the land of freedom. He is the Redeemer.
Well, good morning to you and thank you very much for choosing Pan-African Television. Don't forget we are live on TV in Ghana and in many other countries across the world. We are also live on social media, Facebook. Look for the handle Pan-African Television. We are live on Radio Gold. It is the mother of all shows, Alhaji and Alhaji. Well, I am Sana Nombo, and thank you very much, as always, for choosing us. Here we say it as it is, no matter who is involved in it, and we'll leave you better educated. But it's important that you share your views with us. What do you think about the topics we'll be discussing today? Do share that freely with us through our WhatsApp text message platform. You can also use our comment section if you're watching us via Facebook. This morning, we are talking about what happened on Wednesday, 12th November. It was supposed to be part of the enlistment process of the military. 16 regions, persons who have managed to pass through the first stage were supposed to gather at particular venues designated across the 60 regions. In Greater Accra, people put the numbers around over 20,000. Well, by 10 a.m. news has started circulating that there was a stampede, and the stampede that led to the death of 6. It was difficult to believe, but in the end, it was confirmed to have been exactly what transpired. This is the statement that was issued by the Ghana Armed Forces. And it says the Ghana Armed Forces regrets to inform the general public of a tragic stampede prior to the commencement of the 2025-2026 recruitment exercise today, Wednesday, 12 November 2025, at the Elwak Sports Stadium, Accra. Preliminary investigations indicate that the stampede was triggered by an unexpected surge of applicants who breached security protocols and rushed into the gates ahead of scheduled screening at about 6:20 hours. The unfortunate incident led to the death of 6 potential recruits and many others injured. The injured are currently receiving emergency medical care at the 37 Military Hospital. Ghana Armed Forces assures the general public that the medical teams are working tirelessly to stabilize affected individuals. Meanwhile, arrangements are being made to notify the families of the deceased. The Ghana Armed Forces extends deepest condolences to the families of the deceased and wishes swift recovery to those injured. Further updates will be communicated. Now, subsequently, the Deputy Minister for Defense posted on his Facebook page update on EWAC stampede. There were 34 casualties, including potential recruits and other persons who are not directly related to the exercise. 6 persons have been confirmed dead, 5 are critical and in ICU, 12 are fairly critical. The rest are stable and under observation. In the light of these developments, the Ministry of Defense has halted the recruitment process in Accra region until further notice, while other regional recruitment centers progress smoothly and improve phase schedule arrangements. Now we understand, he says that the Ghana Force has instituted an internal board of inquiry to investigate the cause of the stampede. The president himself had to go to 37 to familiarize himself with exactly what happened and, of course, commiserate with the family and wish the injured speedy recovery. Subsequent things have happened. We'll be discussing that very first topic of discussion. The very next day, of course, was the budget. So we'll be talking about the budget for 2026, what the government intends to do in 2026, what their objectives are for 2026. That is the second topic of discussion. And then we'll conclude with one other thing that also had to do with the military, specifically the Air Force. Of course, the August 6th helicopter crash, the report was submitted this week. And the cause, as identified by the board that did the investigation, was bad weather. So those are the issues we'll be discussing this morning. Of course, a pleasure to see Kwame Kwesi Jr., who is General Secretary of the Socialist Movement of Ghana, join us in the studio this morning. And coming closer to me, lawyer Andrew Apia Dankwa is, okay. Now, I struggle with your position now because first I used to address him as spokesperson for the movement for change. So, Director Legal. For the United Party. So, Director Legal and Constitutional Affairs. Okay.
UP, United Party.
Yeah, great.
What happened to the plus?
Oh, the plus is the Baptist United Party.
It's United Party. If you're shortening it, become UP plus. Well, and of course, Nihan Senote is member of Parliament for Tamale. Tema Central. Sorry. Today, where I'm taking you. Tema Central. Nice to see him this morning. And to my left, let me take my time. Ni Yaboy Annan of Ododo Diodio, a financial analyst, member of the National Democratic Congress. Well, you're an important part of the show. Like I said, share your thoughts with us. We'll start the discussion with the stampede, and we'll start with one of my niece this morning, Ni Hansen Norte, on this one.
Thank you, Senna. Good morning to our cherished viewers and listeners of this great program, Alhaji and Alhaji. I want to extend my greetings this morning to my constituents, the people of Tema Central and my extended family, but also most importantly to the people of Ghana. And then also extend my sincerest condolences to the families that lost their loved ones in this tragic incident that could have been forestalled or shouldn't have happened in the first place. It's very unfortunate that even our military is unable to manage their own recruitment or the fiscal side of their own recruitment in a manner that has caused what has happened today. It's purely poor planning and organization. I mean, poor crowd management. And it's something that we need to deal with, not just because of this incident, but for other events that we have, church activities, for sporting activities. We've had similar tragedies in the past, including the stadium disaster sometime about 20 years ago. And it seems as if we've not really learned much or developed protocols to make sure that these things don't happen again. Because if you have 21,000 people coming to queue, literally, because they're not going to sit in the stands to watch a football game. You're in a queue to enter a gate the size of this door. Looking at the volume of people, obviously, chances are that there will be a stampede. That is why in many other jurisdictions, you stagger the numbers. Yes, you're going to deal with 21,000 people, but 21,000 people, you can have 1,000 coming an hour or 2,000 coming in each hour. So you give them the time that they're supposed to be there. Sometimes when you go to big public events in Europe, for example, like a concert, you see the crowd there in maybe 80,000, like Glastonbury, when we go to those festivals, like 80,000 people, 100,000 people, but everybody is in a box, like this table. So maybe 2,000 people are here, 2,000 people are here. You can never cross from point A to point B. Never. In fact, you have tags on your hand. They put plastic tags on your hand with color coding. So your color code shows you where you are. So if they find you in another let me say, quadrangle, you'll be returned back to your original, let me say cage, so that you stay there. Because they have specific numbers for specific spaces and for specific places. So in that space, if it is designed for 2,000 people, 2,000 people only will be there, not plus even one. That is how crowds of these sizes are managed. So, and I know that the military, has had a lot of experience abroad, peacekeeping and in other difficult situations. And they have the skill sets. They should have the skill sets by now. After 60 years of running an army in Ghana, they should have the skill set to manage this kind of numbers and crowds. God forbid if something like what happened in Madagascar happens in Ghana, then it means our soldiers cannot manage the chaos. Because if you cannot manage 21,000 people who are even coming to seek employment, how can you manage 1 million people on the streets who are angry? So we need to really think through this very, very well. It also raises a very big problem that we have as a society: unemployment. Unemployment. 21,000 young men. When you go to Europe today, they are struggling to even fill their armies with people. Poland, struggling. UK is struggling to recruit people into the army because it is not the first choice of job for their youth. We don't have the jobs. So you would see highly qualified people, skilled people, who some even have their qualifications are beyond what is being asked for. Because I know these ones were recruits. Some of them qualified to be officers. But because there's no employment, they are forced, or they have decided to take advantage of this opportunity and maybe even go and start from that level. So it's a big problem for Ghana, and it's raised another problem as well. It's also a security threat. There are national security implications for this. When you see this and you see your youth, teaming youth, looking for such an opportunity, any small spark, it should tell you that these people are prepared to go and put their lives on the line for the country. So if somebody gives them an incentive beyond what the state can give them, they are prepared to put their lives on the line, because at this stage, they are desperate. And it is a function of our inability to create an environment for jobs to be created in Ghana for our youth. So it's a national security threat as well. We need to look beyond the stampede and what has happened, and then look at the way forward as well. One of the things that I think we should be looking at beyond this, because since you can tell that, in fact, this is not the first time. Last year, there was a similar number. In fact, in the last 8 years, we have always had large numbers at military recruitment. If you put the last 8 years, the numbers together, and there were even 20,000 rejected applications, that's over 160,000 people who would have loved to join the army but have not had the opportunity to do so. So we should look at best practices in other places and how we can manage our youth and what they are looking out for. One, when you go to other societies, they have what they call compulsory military service. Compulsory military service, because these are people who are prepared to work. So compulsory military service, 1 year, just 1 year, post-secondary service. Not post-university or post-tertiary, no. At that age, you are not malleable. 17, 18, 19. 1 year. South Korea, they do it for 2 years. Israel, they do it. Europe, Poland, Sweden, all of them, Belgium. So our youth would have a taste of the army that they want to join. They can always be, when you join, you serve 1 year and you want to continue in there, you can always find a way to, you can be recruited. If you don't want to continue in there, you move on. Because there are so many people I saw in there. I know that if we go by the strict sense criteria for selecting soldiers, they will not qualify. They wouldn't. I saw them. They are not. Some of them are not physically fit. You know, I saw them to join an army. I mean, one of the tests that they do. Some of my friends joined the UK army after secondary school. Look, they ran 3 kilometers in 10 minutes. It's not a joke. And they prepare 3 months or 4 months before they join the army. They train. They go on. They jog. They train. They prepare physically. I saw one lady being pushed over a wall and all that, and I said, no, this one doesn't qualify. So it is out of desperation that our youth are going that path. I mean, I'm not saying joining the army is wrong or bad, but I'm saying that they don't have opportunities. That is why we have 21,000 young men and women looking for this opportunity. And that is why I'm suggesting that we should have a military service. I mean, this 3-year boarding school thing that we are doing, crowding all the children there and all that, it's not necessary. Let them do their day school activity. And then just 1 year. And I know that the Ghana Army has what it takes to change their thought process. You orient them, reorient them, and all that. Teach them civics and all that. So all that can be achieved in that 1 year national military service. And those that will qualify, that's where you can even select people that will become intelligence officers, all that. You know, you can pick, the state will have access to them at a certain stage in their life and pick the ones that they can use. Beyond that, it can also form as a labor force. It's a big labor force. I mean, if you channel the energies of these 21,000 young men and women into something like even railway building, because railway building uses a lot of labor. Railway building, we have a national program to develop railway and develop social housing and all those things. You would have this workforce to do that job. So we should be looking at it from a bigger picture as a society, and then help find solutions to this unemployment situation that has, caused this unnecessary stampede and death. It's rather unfortunate that these young women will lose their lives at the beginning of their adulthood. But we should also take the positives out of it and learn from it. Crowd management, learn from it, how we would be able to use them in the future to develop our society. Many people have done it. It is not something new. It's not something that we're reinventing or trying to create. It's something that has always been there. So we will console their families. We'll extend our deepest condolences to them. However, those that are injured as well, we would also pray that they recover quickly. Some of them may never recover. You know, they might have psychological trauma, may have physical injuries that may not be, you may never heal. They become, they might lose their limbs or something like that. I mean, I know that some of them are in a critical state, but whatever it is, we pray that they recover quickly so that in the future, these things will not happen again. In the future, we hope that these things don't happen again. And not to conclude, not to limit it to just the army, you know, as I said in my earlier statements. We should also improve on even how we manage these rallies, political rallies, church activities, open air concerts. All these things must be regulated properly. And we can learn from best practice. We may have to send people out to be trained. If we don't have the skill sets, maybe send people out to be trained and visit some of these other places. I mean, there are bigger functions than this. When you go to Brazil, they have their carnival. There are millions of people coming from all over the world. In just 1 month period, entering Brazil in a certain period, And the beaches are packed, but these things don't happen. Why? Because there are mechanisms, there are ways of getting it done that we may also have to improve upon our skill set as well. So, Sena, and this will be my comments on this matter. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Nihan Senote is former member of parliament for Tema Central. This is an update that was provided by the Deputy Defense Minister yesterday. And it says update on Elwak Stampede. 5 remain in ICU, with 2 improving steadily. 13 patients at TSEU are stable and under further management. The rest have been treated and discharged for follow-up care. All families of the 6 deceased persons have been identified and contacted. The heirs overseeing the recruitment have been directed to step aside to allow for a full inquiry. Recruitment in Accra remains suspended until further notice, while exercises in other regions continue smoothly. A government delegation, including myself, together with the Minister for Gender, Children and Social Protection, the Greater Accra Regional Minister, senior officers of the Ministry of Defense, Ghana, and the Ghana Armed Forces, the CEO of the National Youth Authority, the concerned MPs and MMDCs have visited some of the bereaved families to convey condolences on behalf of His Excellency President John Dramani Mahama and assure them of government support. We mourn with the families, stand with the injured, and remain committed to ensuring safety and dignity of applicants. That's our discussion, very first discussion. Lawyer.
So, good morning. Good morning. It's always a privilege sharing this platform with you. My own friend and brother, good morning. We've never met on this platform, yeah, but near myself, go way back. Even though we're in different camps. When I was in NPP, I know we had a lot of mutual respect, and we have some days that we have a meeting. Hopefully, we'll meet this evening. My own brother in white. I was telling him that he's the proper white man. The other white man there. Over just a period of 11 months, he's been exposed a big time. And wish your lovely viewers a good morning. I also want to use this opportunity to wish my own brother Solomon Su my condolences. You see, I'm in black after this show. I'll be going over to Bawe to mourn with him, and yeah, so that's my prelims before the main discussion. Wednesday was tragic. It was tragic because under no circumstance should any young person leave the house in search of dignity and not return home. Yesterday I was heartbroken and I saw a video of this lady in Kaswa recounting how she was informed about the tragic loss of her daughter. And these issues brings to the fore so many questions. As in, for me, the smaller issue, I know it's big, but it's the smaller, as in when you do a comparative analysis, is the fundamental failure of organization that caused this tragedy. The bigger issue is how long are we going to fail in our duty as, or in our attempt at doing politics the right way? Because I've been saying so many here on so many occasions. See, you do the reason why you should do politics, or politics itself, is meant to be a science, the master science that uses all the other sciences for one simple goal: the goal to build a strong nation, a strong state that is capable of seeking the welfare of its citizens. And this issue, together with so many other issues, clearly points to one incontrovertible fact: that we are failing at this job. We are failing sadly at this job. So on Wednesday, I understand that about 21,000 people were at Elwak. We had 6 of our compatriots losing their lives, another 5 in intensive care unit, and about 13 also in hospital. it's interesting that in Kumasi, we had a near miss. Look at now, we don't consider near misses. In Kumasi, we had a near miss because there was also some level of stampede there, except that nobody lost their lives. Also in Cape Coast, we had a near miss. Now, for me, there are so many issues. Was the Ghana Armed Forces not aware of the number of people that were coming for the program? Because if you understand the processes, the first stage is a screening. What's called so you input your info and then your data and you are either deemed to qualify or not qualify. The exercise that was happening on Wednesday was a body screen. So after you qualify, they must see you physically and then screen you to determine whether or not per their physical criteria you qualify. I have some of the data here, so I'll mention the person's name. But you take the typical Ghana Armed Forces. It says recruitment 2025, potential recruit. Date 18th October 2025. Screening center, Accra Elwak Sports Stadium. Now, applicant summary. Then they just tell you straight off, you are disqualified. So in this case, I'll mention the person's name. But the guy, he says he's disqualified. I have another one who qualified. Just a minute. So this one to just a minute. So in his case, so these are people who sent me their processes, but they didn't even understand what it meant. And if being a political commentator, I have any way of helping as I come a chance on this. So in this person's case, same Ghana Armed Forces, recruitment 2025, potential recruit. In this case, the date was 6th October. Screening center, Kumasi Baba Yara Stadium. But he was qualified. And then they subsequently sent him a message asking him to come over for a body screen. Yeah, you understand? Now, information we are gathering is that majority of the people who went to the Elwak Stadium were even disqualified, or people who came to see off their friends or relatives. Because I think the Ghana Force must come out with the numbers. How many people applied? But how many people were qualified and were meant to be at the screening centers? Because the information I'm gathering is about 4,000 qualified. Now, if that information is true, and if 4,000 qualified, then just Accra alone, there were over 21,000 people there. So is it a case that everybody they sent that information? Because not the first one I mentioned, it says disqualified, and yet they gave him info. What's it called? Screening will be at Elwak at this time. So all of them probably went to Elwak, both qualified and disqualified. They were all there. You understand? In fact, information I'm gathering is that even with this process, Lala was happening.
Yes.
As to who was screened depends on Lala Sulala. You know Lala Sulala. In fact, in the words of Nanado, we are like in the words of Nanado in 2012, when he said he made a case of $1, 1 cedi, but Mama's case $1, 2 cedis, and he expected Mama to resign by the envelope, the fat envelope under the table. So when I say Lala Sulala, it's the fat envelope under the table, in the words of Nanado. In some of the centers, before you were screened, it depends on Lala Sulala. Exactly. And all these are a reflection of a fundamental depravity in our system. Because what prevented the armed forces from stating clearly that the people who were supposed to be there were those who were qualified? What system did they put in place to ensure that you only had access to the centers if you show evidence that you were deemed qualified per their own criteria? So the beauty about what they did was that when they disqualified you, they explained why you were. So in the case of this guy, he said disqualified reasons: failed English language with grade E8, failed core mathematics with grade F9. Your age as of the headline was 26 years, 7 months, and 24 days. Allowed age range 18 years to 25 years. Last year, I came on this show and I was accusing the government of departing from the principles of meritocracy. We were using the principles of slotism. So what, in my opinion, I haven't seen the data card for what happened last year. But what was supposed to be an evidence of a step in the right direction. Because it's very comforting that under this regime, this system, they don't just say you are qualified or disqualified. It's not about slotism, or even if there are slots, well, there's no evidence to suggest that was the case. At least they went beyond telling you whether you are qualified or disqualified and informed you the basis. So when this guy came to me, I told him plainly that, oh, Master, they said you have failed. If I say your age, so what power do I have to change the situation? Which was very positive. And so what ought to have been an opportunity to make an advocacy for putting in place the right systems has been lost. And right now, we are going to spend executive time to be discussing why 6 people have lost their lives, when clearly this thing should have been prevented. Because if you have put in the system that without human interference disqualifies you based on the data you yourself have produced, goes ahead and gives you the reasons, the majority of the people who were there in the first place ought not to have been there. You understand? So for me, that's my first observation. And indeed, if the numbers they claim qualified were 4,000 across the country, I bet you there would have been no issue of stampede. Because it was the sheer numbers. It was the sheer numbers and the sheer desperation. Okay. So that's my first what's called observation. My second observation is the big elephant in the room, and I think we all agree here that is a national security threat. That's what's called unemployment. The fundamental lack of commitment by people we give powers to. Understand? To create a society where our human dignity will be enhanced. Because when it goes to working, it's not just about making some money to survive. That's the least of the issues employment solves. The big issue employment solves is in your self-dignity. And you see, we all agree that we have an unemployment issue here, and that's one of the causes. And when you think about it, and you consider the amount of monies people are alleged to have stolen over the past 8 years, then you get mad. Because over the last regime, we were told that one of the most transformational programs of the government, the 1D1F, created over 250,000 jobs. Not so. And then we also told that the amount of money government spent under the 1D1F was 400 million Ghana cedis. 400 million Ghana cedis. How much money was lost as a result of the National Service Secretariat Council scandal? See, before we even wage into whether it's government that has to create the jobs or the private sector, well, after that one, there are evidences across the world in countries where government has created jobs and they are okay, and there are evidence. So for me, that is not even the bigger issue. The point is that there are no jobs, and you wonder that government told us, Nanado's government told us that they created 250,000 jobs with just 400 million investment, Ghana cedis investment in 1D1F. And yet, that regime sat down and allowed 2.2 million. Billion. Oh, thank you very much. But I was even 2.2 billion Ghana. If you go into the old currency, pay was lost. Was lost. Now let's do simple mathematics. If 400 million created 250,000 jobs, then the result will do brilliant mass science quiz. I'm the quiz mistress. Maybe Sana, you be the contestant. So contestant number 1. If 400 million created 250 jobs, how many jobs? How many jobs? This is speed race. All the needs are included in the. How many jobs would 2.2 billion create? Sana, if you think about it that way, We were told that 5 billion Ghana cedis was spent on NAPCO. We were told 5 billion was spent on NAPCO. There's nothing to show for NAPCO. There's nothing to show for NAPCO. And all these monies have been lost. Sputnik V, 88 million USD. If you state that in Ghana cedis, even at today's rate, you are talking in excess of 900 million Ghana cedis. Not so. All the monies that are lost in our politics, all the monies that are lost, and we've created a situation. Now let me tell you, so when I went to Tech, one of my lecturers, Dr. Cook, may he so rest in peace. Dr. Cook told us that when he finished secondary school, you know something, in those days, Ghana has a reputation for producing one of the finest military men. So all the fine military men, in fact, our former president, Flight Lieutenant Jerry John Rawlings, you know, in those days, up until 1997, because there were some of my, I finished secondary school in 1997. One of my mates, I think he's Colonel Fifi Ravdigwe. When we finished secondary school, he understood the system, so he decided to go to the military straight away. And up until 1997, probably I don't know when it ended. To enter the military as an officer, all that was required from me in those days was an O-level certificate, and in our time, an SSC certificate. So once you had that, you entered as an officer. Today, SSC certificate, with SSC, or to enter as an officer, you need to have at least a degree. And Dr. Cook, may so rest in peace, had the opportunity to enter the military as an officer. And he said his mom was coming to the barracks every day to cry, because so far she was concerned, the son had signed a death sentence and caused the son to be pulled out of the military. If you are going to be honest, nobody wanted to go into the military. I'm telling you. So people who entered the military are people who had that calling, who had that conviction.
It's hard work.
You understand? And when you go to the US military, a lot of Ghanaians, well, in fact, one of the refuge for a lot of Ghanaians who went to the US, and they just entered the military because they need to get papers. And the UK, you think if they had enough Americans who wanted to enter into their military, Ghanaians and foreigners would be accepted there. So those who do sociology, so what has radically changed in the sociology of Ghana? That's suddenly causing people to love, to want to enter the military to the extent that there'll be a stampede for 6 of our computers to lose that. What has changed in the psyche of the? We need to interrogate that. Is it because suddenly the Ghanaian, we've produced a number of people who are warlike and are motivated to enter into the military, or it's become a matter of survival? And that their human dignity is at stake. Is that the case? And if that's the case, then why? You see, this represents a collective failure of the politics we do here. A politics which increasingly is more parochial than patriotic. Also, we set our national agenda. And that national agenda is found in our constitution. But increasingly, we the politicians are delivering an agenda which is adverse to that agenda. we've delivered an agenda that's killed the hope of the people. So we have citizens right now who have lost hope. Because genuinely, there's no job. You understand? And that's I'm not too interested in whether the job should be created by you get a picture. But there must be a radical commitment by our politicians at creating an economy that is so viable that jobs can be created. But there are no jobs. So right now, how many universities? When I went to university, there were just 3 universities. Right now, there are about close to 20 universities. They finished, and are you aware that right now there are medical doctors in Ghana right now who are unemployed? Meanwhile, the reason why medical school is very competitive was when you go outside the country, the very sharp people don't go and do medicine. They go and do the raw sciences, either physics, chemistry. But in Ghana, the medicine was a hot cake. Why? Because you are guaranteed of job. Even right now, there are doctors who don't have jobs in Ghana. And it's not as if the doctor-patient ratio is good. Are you aware that right now there are a lot of lawyers who can't find law firms to work in Ghana? There are a lot of engineers who are unemployed. Engineers. Meanwhile, it's not as if our structural system, our fiscal structure system is crucial. There's so much deficit. So why do we go to university? Because we are doing something to represent something. But we have a system where there's no leadership, proper leadership, where people do politics for all the wrong reasons. You do politics for all the wrong reasons. I watched a movie where what's it called? A Ghanaian movie. Grace Notte, the legendary Grace Notte, told the daughter that if she's going to marry, she should find a politician, and she should make sure that the politician is a member of either the MPP or the NDC. That's where they have the real chance of getting power. And once their chance come, their chance come. 2.2 billion coming missing. We'll talk, nothing will happen. 2.2 billion! And that within a space of 6 months. Did you see the alleged house of Hanan? Have you seen the house?
2.2 billion is about $220 million.
I've practiced law for 17 years. I've practiced law for 17 years. If favor finds me, maybe I can build half of that honest practice. My knee, I like knee. When I don't understand anything, accounts finance, I just call knee white. And you give me proper tax. And have you seen Hannah's house? Or you have told them? I've seen pictures of it. So why would people go into, so in our country, my mother here, I was once a lawyer, so I'm because of lawyer-client privilege, I can't say anything. You understand? Very honest politician. But in this country, if you do politics, you do it honest. Then Grace Notte won't advise the daughter to come after you, to come and marry you. And we've done politics that is driven by self-interest. Yeah, we've done politics that is driven by self-interest. And people of Ghana also don't praise the genuine politicians enough. Because I told you, I know I've told you in private, I've had a chance of saying it as also in public. I mean, if you ask me my political role model, it's not because Uncle Kwesi Pratt is here, but it's Uncle Kwesi Pratt. Because it's not a question of whether you are right or whether you are wrong. But then we're all stating our opinions. Facts are sacred. Therefore, facts, if 1 + 1 is 2, you can't run away from it. But when we come here, all we come and talk about is our opinion, our point of view. But over time, your point of view ought to be consistent. And the reason why you have your point of view must be because you have the interest of the nation at heart. Hassan, I can have a debate here with Ngozi Pratt, probably on the way to whether it should be a socialist route or whether it should be a capitalist route, or we can have. It doesn't mean that I'm wrong or he is wrong. His opinion, but I can bet you that we are co-joined because of what our interest is, and the interest is in Ghana, building that strong Ghana. But we have a politics that is driven by what can I get, not what will make the country strong. And so the people who do politics can they sleep well? That they've created a situation that is so desperate, that is criminally desperate, that over the years, a sector that is on record has been a sector that people ordinarily don't like going. We have a situation where there can be 21,000 Ghanaians, young men, as of 6 o'clock, who are so desperate to get in, to go and pay la sulala, so they'll be screened whether they are qualified, whether they are not qualified. For me, if this will not be the watershed moment, if the Crefe people, when Saul met Jesus Christ on his way to Damascus, if this will not serve as that period, then I stand on all forces with the words of my brother Nee here. That the bigger threat is then we have people who are so desperate that they don't mind taking arms, doing anything that would disrupt this our democracy. That the findings of the Afro Barometer report just before elections that suggested that Ghanaians will support an illegal uprising is a real and present danger. And that if you claim that you do politics in whatever form, shape and size, whether you're a journalist, or sometimes you see it's very easy to point hands at the people at the front line politics. But how do the journalists also do their politics? The so-called the CSOs. What drives them? Is it a love for Ghana or their parochial interest? So, Senator, I have to end. But for me, this has to be a watershed moment in our politics. There has to be a Damascus adventure. What happened? And it must cause for a reset of our mindset. It must cause for a reflection. This must cause a rising up of politicians who are driven not by their parochial interest, but rising up of politicians whose sole interest is, how do I use this master science to create a strong state? How do I use this master science to create a system where the welfare of the citizens will be upheld? How do we use this master science to create a situation where Ghana, the black star of Africa, can rise again and take its rightful position as the star of the Pan-African world? If the answer to that is no, then you have no business being in this hallowed profession or hallowed calling. And the politicians, only about 10% have that calling. Only about 10% have that calling. If you do a reflection, if you think you don't have that agenda, then humbly resign. Because we have this obligation to build our state, and we can't fail at that agenda. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. He's Director Legal. I don't know why I'm struggling with my voice this morning. Director Legal and Constitutional Affairs for the United Party, Lawyer Andrew Appiah Dankwa. Before I come to Nia Boyanan, just a few of the comments that you're sending to us on this particular issue. Prince Duzo says it was unfortunate to lose. Okay, it was 6 gallant ladies in the name of trying to seek jobs to serve their country. There should be a compensation to the family. It's very painful to lose your loved ones like this. Was it unemployment or passion for the profession that led to the tragic loss? Let us learn from this mistake and not repeat same. I'm doing the monitoring in Tamale North constituency. Abiyu Mandela says the death of the young women during the stampede at the military recruitment exercise at Elwak is unfortunate but avoidable. The military can do better with their recruitment procedures. Kokobo Stephen says, good morning. It was unfortunate to lose these 6 gallant ladies. May their souls rest in peace. And my condolences to our Director of Communications, Mr. Solomon Owusu. Of course, he lost his sister. Yes. Solomon lost his sister. He is doing the 1 week observance today. Kamal Dokurogo Ibrahim says, it's heartbreaking that we've lost 6 young lives in simple recruitment exercise organized by the military. What is unbelievable is the alleged position taken by the Defense Ministry on the matter, which I sincerely hope isn't true, because it is describable as reactionary, populist, and not trauma-informed at best. It will be most unfortunate if indeed the government has taken a position to recruit family members of the 6 dead persons. It is definitely a dangerous precedent and shouldn't be encouraged. There's Cameron Gandalf Knowles, who says, thank you for always educating us through valid and clean conversation. So send those comments. I was just reading from Facebook. Ni.
Thank you, Sena. Greetings to the people of Udujudu. My sympathies was Solomon also. I think you informed me just this morning before the show. Myself, I also have a funeral. I've lost a brother, so from here I'm also going to the funeral. So extend my condolences to the family. I think I would greet also Uncle Kwesi Pratt. It's been a while since we met. Then my brother Biggie. And me for the first time meeting. Nice to meet you. Right. Going straight to this issue, I think we all agree that it is unfortunate and unacceptable as well. First and foremost, I commend the military in terms of the processes put in and the effort put in, the planning put in with regards to the application process online. I think it was very comprehensive. I got involved. I had a team of people, and I agree with lawyer that, look, the reasons where someone is disqualified was clearly stated and all that. But also, there was a significant issue with that. You know, those who tried the application from the very beginning got disqualified when, in fact, they could have been qualified. And there was no way you could rectify it. Once you are disqualified, the system kicks you out of it completely, which I think it wasn't fair. Because it was not just on the qualification. There were artisans and all that were being also recruited, and they did not need, but the basic was your JHS results and certificate, and they could actually tell your age, even if you falsified the age with this birth certs and all that. And so a lot of people initially were disqualified. It is also how you apply and where you apply, whether Air Force or Navy and all that. So, and the age limits were different in all those areas. So it was a very comprehensive process and procedures. And I thought that not many were trained to do it, and those who went on to do it got themselves. And therefore there were a section of them who will still believe that they do qualify, although they have been disqualified. The bottom line is that when it came to the physical examination or checks, I think the military failed. And they failed because they were planning chaos, and they actually planned chaos, and that was the results. in recent times, I have passed through the Accra Sports Stadium, and I saw the arrangements they put, although I did not go and watch any Ghanaian match. I don't like heartbreak, so normally I stop watching any match of I'll watch Phobia, but Black Star I can't watch. You know, so a lot of them got there, also knowing that as a country, most of our processes leading to recruitment are fraught with corruption, that they can pay their way through although they were disqualified and get the body checks or whatever done for them. In fact, some who were there will tell you that others made it through the gate because they knew somebody. And calls were coming. So that probably you will also call somebody for them to be made to go through. And like I'm saying, the way the stadium was organized, before you get to the entrance of the sports stadium, they know you had a valid ticket and you know exactly where you were going. And that helped a lot. The surroundings of Elwak and Elwak itself is a security zone. So I should assume that the military would have deployed the military police for the traffic situation and everything around Elwak, knowing the numbers. Proper planning would have told the military that certainly there would be others who would come over there who are not qualified to be there. And therefore there must be some form of screening even before you get to the entrance of Elwak. Then outside the gate of Elwak, there should have been barricade that should have segregated male recruits from the female recruits. I mean, again, bottom line, they plan chaos and not order. And that is a big dent on the military, who are known for their discipline. And I do not, based on my initial appraisal of how the system, the application system was done, certainly they have the know-how to plan and execute a program so well. And therefore, I just do not understand why they left this just like that. I did not see any planning in how were the people being ushered into the stands. How many people can they take care of in a day? I mean, I know for a fact that messages were sent to the applicants who were qualified to show up and at a particular destination. So they could have been given time that you are part of, let's say, 6 a.m. Maybe 1,000 is 6 a.m. Another 1,000 comes around 12, and then that kind of a thing. But nothing of that sort happened. I don't know how big Elwak is to contain that number of people that turn up there. So clearly, it was supposed to be chaotic. And that was not a good thing. And the military cannot say that the crowd was a surprise to them. They cannot. They knew the numbers already. And therefore, I don't see why this should be happening. It's just not acceptable. I think the other issue we have all talked about is the situation of unemployment. I think that there will always be a situation of unemployment. There would always be a situation of some level of unemployment. In our case, it's a bit elevated, and we all know why. But also, it is not an excuse to be reckless. No, it cannot suffice to be an excuse that one must be reckless because there are people looking for jobs, and we just don't care. I mean, they are looking for jobs. We are secured. Let's do it anyway and anyhow. It then suggests to me that probably even those who were going for the screening were not the ones who will be employed into the military. It suggests to me so, that if you do not actually give time and proper planning to this process, then yourself, you who own the process, you have not shown respect to the process. And therefore, I don't think that the people you want into the military are the very people you would want to treat this way. I know in other regional capitals what is going on there. That people have to queue to the next day, go and bath, come back into the queue. I mean, is it not a waste of our human resource, the very human resource we want to engage rightly? Is it not a waste of time of people? How can we be this disorganized, especially for the military? Cannot be acceptable at all. And I think it should be not just a lesson. I mean, because the lessons, it keeps happening, and it seems that nobody learns from it. And it's because nobody takes a fall for it. Things happen in this country we can count. Numerous. They happen. Then we give it to God. Then we say, oh, religion says that we will die. Whichever way you go, it is acceptable. No. No.
One MP said that on the floor.
No, it is not acceptable. That we would have lost 6 very able ladies, women, that out of them a generation can come out of them. A lot of generation could have come out of them, has been extinct, and then we say it is okay, it is part of life and all that. So at what point are we going to learn? If we keep saying it is part of life, you will die, we will die. So we should die recklessly in this manner, and nobody takes a fall for it. Who actually organized this process? There must be somebody responsible for it. It cannot be that nobody is responsible. The buck stops at the president's desk, and therefore, we should let it go. No, somebody in the military was responsible for this. Somebody is certainly responsible for it. And if nobody is punished for it, then I assume that we are all actually endorsing what has happened and probably craving for the reoccurrence of this unfortunate situation. I think that as a country, we must start making people accountable. People should not just be accountable for monies they have stolen. That we present them in parliament and ask them to go and pay and all those things and then take them through the legal. I mean, when 6 lives are lost, unless today the nation wants to tell us that the lives of our 6, even the life of one, is not acceptable. We have seen the stadium disaster. I don't think we learned anything till date. We have seen a lot of these things happening, and people dying for apparent no reason, and nobody takes a fall for it. And it has become part and culture. It has become our culture that when people are reckless, by the decision of others, people die. It is like, okay. But when a driver causes an accident and kills somebody, he's taken through the law. Some are in jail because of that. How do you describe this? I think it's unfortunate, but it is most unfortunate if nobody is made to pay a price for this. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Before I come to Mr. Pratt, Susanna Penyo says the issue of the military lately leaves a lot to be desired. Being a product of a military myself, I'm very concerned about the failures and lack of due diligence on our military lately. Please, let's address these worrying excesses of our military, being one step ahead of the security planning and running of our military. Indeed, Ghana must reset every institution. We have a lot to do to save our homeland, Ghana. Susan, thank you. There's also George, George says, please, I attentively listened to Lapia Dankwa's submission today, and everything that came out of his mouth today on this platform, Alhaji and Alhaji, should be played back to every politician for self-examination of their call and cause to serve this great nation of ours. I salute him this morning. Dennis Yakwete says the death of our young people seeking to serve Mother Ghana as military personnel was needless and regrettable, especially in an era of modernity and technology. But what pains me more is a comment by one of our female MPs that those deaths were destined to happen and nobody could prevent it. That was a reckless comment to have come from a member of parliament whose duty was to ensure that the right thing was done to prevent the occurrence of such circumstances that may lead to needless and avoidable death. Our politicians must learn about what to say and at what time to do so. Yusuf Mohammed is also joining us. Senator, those 6 that passed away among the victims, may their souls rest in peace. Wish the rest speedy recovery. At least Ghanaians cannot differentiate between a patriotic party and non-patriotic party because the previous government would even finish the recruitment before advertisement, and about 90% of those recruited were MPP boys. And I think some of them have to pay to be recruited. The remaining party boys couldn't be recruited must appreciate this government because they can now apply and get recruited fairly without having to pay a dime. There's KOK who says the funny part of this whole mess is that most of the people who will eventually end up being recruited are comfortable sitting at home, resting. Cause says a disorganized country. This is Azuma, who says to solve this recruitment problem, the government should set a new institution responsible for selection of our youth into the security agencies. The body should be known as Defense and Intelligence Academy. Our youth exiting JHS should be asked to continue to the Defense Academy if they want to go to either military or any of the other agencies. Here you write an exam before getting admission to the Defense Academy. This will eliminate all the brouhaha our youth go through. This will also eliminate the protocol system. In the 70s, we had Boys Company, which was responsible for recruiting our youth into the army. This will solve our problems once and for all. That's Asuma Besori who sent that. Thank you. Dr. Akofa Segbefia also joined us. Sympathize with the families of those who lost their lives in the Elwak stampede. However, it must be stated that discipline is the very first principle in the military. Some of the applicants interviewed by the media clearly admitted that they were supposed to be at the venue the day after the incident. What it means is that those applicants did not adhere to instructions and ended up swelling the crowd. So now those undisciplined ones should have been rounded up and quickly disqualified from the enlistment for failing to adhere to simple instruction. Mr. Pratt.
Look, for me, there are 2 causes of what happened. First, there's the fundamental cause of what happened at Elwak Stadium. And there are, or there is, the immediate cause. All the reports I've read indicated that there were between 20 and 21,000 people milling up at the El Stadium. This morning, I've heard my friend, lawyer Pierre Dankwa, indicate that only 4,000 of them had actually qualified to be there. Okay. Now, first, if there were 21,000 people who milled there, they didn't come there by accident, because the authorities responsible for recruitment actually invited people to come. Now, if you look at Accra, you have the University of Ghana Sports Stadium. You have the Accra Sports Stadium. You have an empty space like the Hearts Park. You have the Black Star Square. You have El Stadium and other such venues. Who decided that all of these persons should kneel at El Stadium? That is, if all of them had to do it at the same time, the same day, why the choice of the El Stadium as the only venue? Doesn't make sense to me. Okay? Now, if we're going to choose the El Stadium as the only venue for this exercise, was it not possible to stagger? To stagger. Say, for example, the first 1 hour, 500 people. And we are sure that within 1 hour you can process 500 people. Second hour, 500, and so on. Couldn't we have done it that way? Was it not possible to organize this in a decent, orderly way in order to prevent the calamity which happened? So it is clear that it is the lack of planning and thought, not much thinking, appears to have gone into the exercise. And that's the result of the calamity. Whoever decided that 4,000, as we are told now, or 20,000 people should kneel at the El Stadium, which is not the biggest open space in Accra, has a responsibility, some responsibility for what happened that Wednesday. Now, it is strange, not strange, maybe interesting. Well, it is significant that this exercise was being organized by a regimented institution like the Ghana Armed Forces. This exercise was not organized by the Ghana Journalists Association or by, this is a regimented organization which has all the trappings, of order and so on. And for me, it is indeed a sad reflection of where we have come or where we have reached with our regimental institutions in this country. So that's about the immediate cause. What are the fundamental causes of this, or what is the fundamental causes of this? For me, the major cause of this is the thinking, is the framework, which says that production and distribution of goods and services should only occur when profit can be made. That's the problem. Our problem is that we have adopted a model of development which puts profit at the center of everything, the accumulation of surplus value at the center of everything. That's where the problem is. So work only occurs when it generates profit. People are only employed when their employment can lead to the generation of profit. We do not produce and distribute goods or services because it solves human problem or society's problem or community's problem. We do that solely for the purpose of accumulating profit. And this is the reason why the numbers of unemployment is growing. You understand? It's growing. So even when in our communities and so on, there's a glaring need, we cannot employ. Now, what is employment? Basically, employment is the engagement of labor, the engagement of people to solve the problems of human beings, of our communities and so on. That's all that employment is about. So in a country where there are so many problems, malnutrition, inadequate access to health care, bad roads, bad national infrastructure and so on, it does not make sense to see these levels of unemployment. And I think it's important for us to question the philosophical basis upon which we are building the country Ghana. It's important that we question that philosophical base upon which we are building the country Ghana. I know that we'll be discussing the budget much earlier on, later on, we'll be discussing the budget. One of the most striking statements which was made is the fact that 150,000 nurses are unemployed. And there's no possibility of employing them. Can you believe that? In Ghana. Now, do you know those statements, what they actually mean? I mean, now we are saying that we don't have the capacity to employ them. We can't pay them, okay? And because we can't pay them, we are going to be exporting them to other countries. The full implication of that is that we have taken a decision to subsidize the economies of other countries. We have spent our scarce resources training them, and it will be interesting to find out how much it costs per head to train a nurse. So we spend these huge resources training nurses. We cannot use them, so we are exporting them. What it means is that those countries which are going to be receiving them would not have to spend that much money from their resources to train their own nurses. It's a subsidy, to those countries. And I'm embarrassed by this situation. Yes, of course, if we are in charge of the national economy and we are going to employ 150,000 nurses, you ought to be thinking about what is it that can be done, to raise the necessary resources so that at the end of the month, they can be given their sustenance. That's an important question you have to answer. But you see, in answering that question, we should still have an eye on how we serve the interest of our people. Every question that we answer in government must, at its very center, be the question of how do we satisfy the needs and aspirations of our people. Otherwise, we are not in government. Otherwise, we are not in politics. Because politics properly defined is the generation of resources and the management of the resources for the interest of the people in the community. That's politics. That's what politics ought to be about. Okay. Now, as we cry that we cannot employ 150 nurses, so we are going to export them and so on, look at how the national resources are spent. And I'm sure that many people saw what has been happening in Parliament, at least within the last 3-4 days. I want somebody to give me a justification. Somebody to give me a justification for the amount of money we spend on emoluments on the people in Parliament, given the caliber, given the quality of debates and so on. Somebody should give me a justification for that. You see, Sana, in the colonial era, many top civil and public servants were not Ghanaian. They were not Gold Coasters. We imported them. They came from England, they came from Scotland, they came from Ireland, and so on. They came from the British Empire. So there was a condition in their service conditions which said that at the end of every year, they could go back to their countries of origin for holidays. So you paid their seafare and so on. They went back to England for a couple of weeks and so on. They had to go back to see their families, to rest and so on. Can you believe that 68 years after independence, we still have public officials in Ghana who every year have to go on holidays abroad, to London and to the US? Are we a sensible people? What is the meaning of our independence if this colonial practice is still being preserved? Why should anybody who is a Ghanaian, who works in Ghana and for Ghana, at the end of every year, go to the United States of America or to Britain for holidays?
Legal break. That's the principle behind the legal breaks.
Legal vacation.
Legal vacation. The Europeans used to go for summer and come back in October. It's the same thing that they do, even in Ghana.
And they still time it for summer. What people are we? What kind of leaders do we have in this country? Sana, it's unbelievable. And then they don't go alone. They go with their spouses. They go with their dependents. And it's all on our heads. I want somebody to calculate how much we will save if we just ended this clear case of stupidity. How much will we save? How many nurses would this expenditure cover? Unbelievable. You understand? How many nurses would this expenditure cover? So, look, there are several ways in which we can find the resources to engage our people in production and distribution. I want to suggest something. All of us, one evening, 8 o'clock in the night, take your car, drive around the ministries. Take your car, 8 p.m., 9 p.m., 10 p.m., drive around the ministries. And if you do that, and you can still come and look us in the face and say, we don't have money to pay 150,000 workers, then something must be wrong with you. Most of the ministries, 10 p.m., air conditioners are on, full blast. All the lights are on, full blast. When they don't have air conditioners, the fans are blowing. And so, all that is cost. Listen, all that is cost. Now there's a practice which has become common. When big men go for fun, big men and women, when they go for functions, they don't switch off their engines. I lie, if I lie, tell me that I lie. And I've tried to find out, I've asked these questions, I'm told that, The car must be cool before the minister comes to sit in it. So the guy is in a conference. The conference is going to last 3 hours. His car engine is on. Am I lying? His car engine is on. The air condition is blasting, full blast. This is a big man. He's a big woman. Heat must not touch his body, and so on. And then you turn around, look us in the face and say, we don't have money to engage 150,000 nurses. It's unbelievable. You understand? Now, the worst part of it is that some of these leaders whose actions and inactions have led to this situation turn and say, oh, it is God's will. Many people are focusing attention on that lady parliamentarian who said what she had to say and so on. But listen to all the politicians. Can you count one who commented on this situation and did not say that it was God's work? Show me one Ghanaian politician who commented on this situation and did not say that it is God's work. But you see, if it is God who does everything, kill people, cause rain, cause drought, cause unemployment, provide employment and so on, why do they come to us every 4 years for a mandate? Leave it to God, stay in your house and sleep. God will do everything. I mean, it's incredible. I mean, sometimes I don't think that we pay attention to our leaders when they talk. Any leader who comes to you and says that, oh, there's been an accident, 6 women are dead, it is God's will. That leader is not worthy of his or her position. Because it is not God's work. If this exercise has been done in such a way that it was spread to Accra Sports Stadium, Wax Sports Stadium, University of Ghana Sports Stadium, Black Star Square and so on, 6 people would not have died. Sure. And it is not God who decided that all of them should kneel at the Wax Sports Stadium. So don't blame God. You know, these people think that when they come and they pontificate and they show that they believe in God and so on, it gives them some marks and so on. It doesn't. It actually shows them up for what they really are. That's the problem. So there are many dimensions. I mean, there's an accident, avoidable accident, clearly avoidable accident, and God who is sitting here somewhere is dragged into it. What is this? What kind of society are we building? All of my other colleagues on this panel have said that there's a national security situation. It is. It is a national security situation. And I'm not the one saying it. We are not the only people saying it. I recall that during the Kufuor administration, they made efforts to create a structure which would absorb the youth and give them something to do and so on the basis of the recommendations of Mr. Francis Poku, who was then the Minister for National Security. Because he clearly saw that as a security threat. When Larry Beblo Latte became the National Security Coordinator, he started creating all kinds of structures for skills training, for deployment of people, for sinking boreholes and so on, because he also affirmed that it was a security threat. Understand? So it is not new. This is a major security threat. Everybody, anybody, cannot live without water and food and some basic necessities. And if you push them and they become desperate, they will kill for those human needs. Because they either do everything and anything possible to survive, access to water, access to food, access to medical care, or they themselves would die. We are living in a jungle. We are living in a jungle of capitalism, in a jungle where only the fittest can survive, where only those who can bully others can survive. This is our reality. You understand? And it's important for our leaders to wake up to this reality. Of course, we'll come to discuss the budget, and we'll have the opportunity to discuss some of the innovations which are being introduced in order to deal with this problem. Okay? Of course, it's important to state that there hasn't been any significant paradigm shift. What has changed is that perhaps we have better management skills. Okay? Better management skills within the same paradigm. That's what perhaps is occurring. But we will discuss that much later. So,
thank you. Thank you very much. And of course, we're just discussing the stampede that happened at Elwak, 12th November. This happened day before the budget. 6 people have lost their lives. Some are still recovering. Like I shared that update from the Deputy Minister for Defense with you. Our condolences continue to go to the family of the deceased.
I beg, just for God, look. That all the 35 million Ghanaians are stolen. Can you believe that somebody actually got up and said, this situation occurs because we didn't have a defense minister? I mean, can you believe this? That we didn't have a defense minister, that's why the accident occurred, that's why the 6 girls died. That's an insult to us. I don't know why I forgot this. And this is a situation where you have a deputy defense minister capable of being defense minister, and you have an acting minister of defense. What would the minister of defense have done in this particular instance, which a deputy minister of defense cannot do? Now, even if he didn't have a ministry of defense at all, should this have happened? But please take us a little serious.
In fact, if you go to the military, you have Chief of Defense Staff, Chief of Naval Staff, Army Staff, and of course Air Force. So there are all kinds of leaders that are capable, and they do most of these things by themselves.
Recruitment. Is recruitment done by the minister? How very strange. I mean, they say all kinds of things and they get away with it. Now this situation will occur because we don't have a minister.
Well, the show is also live on many other affiliate stations across the country. A big thank you to all of you. We are live on Facebook, Pan-African Television. Do join us. A lot of you are sharing your comments with us. The very first topic of discussion. I'm seeing a lot happening on our WhatsApp platform. Before we move on to the discussion of the very next topic, which is the budget. This one is from Papa Bisius Pintes, who says, my sympathy to the families for their loss and those injured. Question is, why is the MPP ascribing the tragic accident to not having a main minister at the defense ministry? This is an insult to the sensibility of the military heads. Mistakes do happen, and it is deeply regrettable, but doesn't give the MPP MPs the right to indirectly insult the sensibility of the military high command. After all, what was their scorecard when they were in government? Sorrow, hardships, have they soon forgotten the loss of 8 innocent souls they caused us on the day of an election? Papa Bisiu sent that. Let me just do this one from Asanko Santa Maria. It says, what happened at the Elwak Stadium would have been avoided if the organizers had been innovative, strategic, or had a little bit of foresight. Should we always have to wait for a disaster to happen before we learn? This is very unfortunate. Asanko sent that from Santa Maria. This one says, good morning, everybody. Said, our respected military that we used to know have been politicized seriously. Their professionalism are relegated to the background. It is the result we had these 6 dying. Timothy sent that. Sami from Sumanya says people must be held accountable, especially where lives have been lost. The case of the helicopter crash is one of them. If people are not punished for their negligence of duty, then we should be expecting worse to happen in the future. In fact, the military has to be properly cleaned so that the right officers are placed in their place of command. Thank you. This is Prosper Mensah from Dubai, who says, Senator, the truth should be told. The Ghana forces totally failed in the safety management of that recruitment event. I attended interviews in Dubai in a very huge number of applicants. It takes just private security to manage such crowd safely. Just a matter of arranging CCB, crowd control barrier, to manage that. Lack of common sense. Our people had been killed. And this one says, Pan Africa, I'm enjoying your discussions, please. We, the 2023 batch of, what's COE? Graduates who have, colleges of education actually, who have finished our mandatory national service are still at home without any assurance of financial clearance anytime soon. The interest on our student loans is ballooning every day. Why wouldn't young people be desperate to join the security services? In fact, when Mr. Powell was talking about the nurses, the minister actually says the 150,000 accounts for both nurses and teacher trainees. There's at times Tunyani who says God should sue those who attribute every bad thing to his name. If I can speak to Afia Dankwa to represent him. Both de Graaf Johnson says Ghana is a crime scene and a failed state. I dare anyone to prove me wrong. We need to bring back the Public Works Department. This should engage at least 1 million people in the workforce. There's a lot more. Musa Abatwa says, as a country, we must be forward-looking and minimize excessive partisanship, especially on issues of national importance. This tragedy was avoidable. The world is evolving rapidly, with AI becoming central to problem solving globally. Going forward, not only the military, but all security agencies must incorporate advanced technology into their recruitment and operations. This is the only way to enhance efficiency, protect lives, and prevent such unfortunate incidents in the future. Musa Abatwa sent that from Asawase. Message from Gomwa West says, why should one die just because he or she wants to be recruited into the forces? In most cases, those who are going to be recruited were comfortably relaxing in their homes, whilst those with no hope suffer. We are actually living in an unjust world. That's Mystic who sent that. There's Foster Abeka who says, much as we want President Mahama to deal with the thieves, Ghanaians must also vehemently open their eyes on any case that goes to the court and the judgment that comes from the judges, because we know what our judges are capable of doing. President Mahama, some individuals have seized some state lands. Typical. Okay, thank you very much for sending all those comments. There are more, but that's what I can go through for now. Keep them coming, because we'll move on to the matter of the budget. And I start from my left with me, your boy, Anna.
Well, I will start by probably making a controversial statement. 2. 1, I think that we have lost a very significant attribute and part of our parliament. That the people we have at the minority side are lost on issues that really matters and lack the constructiveness to engage in productive discussions. With all due respect to that side of parliament, the minority side of parliament. And this is because of the pronouncement I've heard after the budget from the leader, the minority leader himself, and for all the rest who had communicated, I think we are losing a big touch of our parliament, and the essence of it is being lost on them. Their real essence there, I think, is being lost. It suggests to me that this is how things will be going, at least for now. And therefore, we must all be constructive to make sure that we put government in check, because we cannot rely on the minority to do that job. They are just not in place to do that job, and it's unfortunate. 2, I also want to say that we should hasten slowly. In some of our commentary that suggests that we have arrived. We are there. It is all rosy. It's looking good. Because in real terms, that is not the case. I will start from the 2015 budget and the performance of it.
2025?
The 2025, budget and the performance of it. In terms of the third quarter, I think we missed the target on almost every line, which was worrying, because there was basis for which we had targeted those amounts. Again, the tax revenue still didn't look good enough, and we could say that we are coming from a period of worsening economic situation, and we are now recovering, and therefore we may face these challenges. But that being said, we must also take into account how our tax laws are structured. And I believe that we have structured our tax acts so punitively that people always take the side of evading and avoiding tax in this country. And I'm happy that the finance minister recognized that himself in this year's budget, and the reason why most of it will be reviewed or amended. It is a big plus, and it is something that I kept advocating for in terms of how the levies were charged as sales tax. And for me, I think it was an understatement. This will go a long way to check inflation. Inflation could have come down further if at least the 21.9% was all treated as VAT or an indirect tax that can be recovered, because it is a consumer tax. It is only the consumer who had to pay. Unfortunately, it caused a recklessness of a government to say that I want to treat the levies as sales tax, which was then a burden on production. That burden of 6% will be passed on as a cost to the consumer, plus an additional 6% being charged again on the consumer. So the consumer ends up paying twice, which push costs up. Again, and I thought this would have been taken care of, I have not heard anywhere that in company tax you target revenue just because I have made losses over a period of time. That somebody would think of that, look, because I made loss in 2022, 2023, 2024, that justifies that 2024 revenue should be taxed at a certain rate. Setting aside my expenditure, it beats any economic logic, any accounting logic, any tax logic, and it is because the sole reason is that government can impose tax. That's all. And therefore there was an imposition and people have to adhere to it. It's an illegality. Because you must look at the effective rate at which people pay tax. After even if they are making profits, sometimes their net profit taxable are so reduced that the effective rates are not the rates you think of, but they are lower. And there are other things that comes in that sometimes adjusts the position, which are not only based on accounting, but also the tax laws. For instance, depreciation. I can choose any depreciation rates to use, but the tax law says that this is what I'm granting you, but the cost is legitimate. That particular section of the internal the income tax act should also be removed. More so, the environment for businesses to make loss was not created by the businessmen. It was created by the same irresponsible economic management we had seen in the past. Nothing special has been done. But what has been so significant for us all to notice is the discipline with which we have managed the economy today. That discipline wasn't there some few years back in the erstwhile government. Now we can tell clearly that there is a lot of discipline. Although we missed the revenue target in terms of expenditure, we did well. The greater risk is still wages and salaries, as we have mentioned here. In terms of interest payment, domestic and external, we could attribute it to the DDEP and then the exchange rates falling. I had said before that you cannot tell me that by slowing the pace at which the exchange rates goes up is an achievement. The only achievement is when you have reversed it totally and it is falling, which the last time we saw such was in the President Achampon's era. Now we are seeing some. We must commend the monetary side for it, but also to caution that what we are enjoying is the same external factors and influences that we so hate and all the time make excuses that it took external factors, external shocks for our economy to be in disarray. Now, we have enjoyed this on the backs of gold prices, good gold prices, and cocoa prices. But what we have all turned our eyes off all of a sudden is oil. Because oil prices are no longer good. In fact, the 2025 budget had targeted oil price averagely at $73 per barrel. And we were doing below that. And you could see that the biggest target we missed in terms of revenue was to do with oil. All these prices are not determined by us. It is determined at the international stage, externally. Our focus today should be to broaden the base of our economy so that we will not just rely on these 2 or 3 commodities to keep our CD where it is. And again, I am very happy that extensively the finance minister mentioned palm. We should go beyond that. We should look at rubber. We should look at other things. Because all these prices may crash in the near term. And once it crashes, the toll on us will be heavy. We are looking at our debt, which are okay at a manageable based on GDP, not based on revenue that we are generating. And that is always an issue. Look, this has also come by because of the exchange rates and the DDEP. But the DDEP program will not be there forever. We are in haste, for me, to go back to the bond market. And then, when the appetite is right, we will jump to the international money market or capital market, the Eurobonds. We will go there. Look, from 2014 to 2017 or 2018, we saw a similar trend where there was monetary tightening. Things were looking good. In fact, the 2017 budget of the then government MPP were praising themselves that they've done so well, and the inflation has fallen, this has fallen, that has fallen, and we are doing well, the rates have come down and all that. We said all those things. In fact, this time it is significant compared to that era. But all the same, the trend is similar. But after 2019, we saw what happened. When the IMF was gone, all of a sudden, we looked good on the international market. We were inviting non-resident bond holders, engaging in our local market. And then in 2022, they decided to liquidate about 2 billion, and then our currency, the exchange rate shot up significantly. And we saw the pain we had to go through. I applaud this government and the finance minister for the discipline. But my question is, will the anchor hold when the IMF is gone?
2026, that'll be next year.
Will our anchor hold in 2027 when most of these responsibilities that have been deferred will come facing us? In 2028, which is an election year, when there will be a lot of demands on us to do projects, will our anchor hold? Will it be the same cycle? Are we going back to the same thing? That is my fear. That is the risk we face as a country. Look, the environment we find ourselves in, if we should keep it steady for only 5 years, be consistent at it, be prudent as we are today, the monetary side be more responsible in terms of their evaluation and monitoring of what needs to be done at every step of the way, then I believe that this country will probably taste some honey, not milk. Now, another thing that we tend to overlook is the monetary side, because the governor of the Bank of Ghana will not come to Parliament and present his budget and targets and what have you, and then he will not call back to account for it and all that. I mean, it is done through the finance ministry in some way, and I think it is time we rethink that side of our administration. I heard in a conference outside this country the finance minister mentioning that when we pushed up the rates, remittances fell through and it went up. I think it was not guided. He should have been more circumspect with that pronunciation. And on the 11th of November, I think that is why, because I don't see the need why the press release for the new foreign exchange operations framework, was there an old one? Was there an old one? For you to go out there to say that we manipulated the exchange rate, that is how I understood it, so that remittances will come in, because people outside Ghana are looking at the lower rates today, and therefore they were holding their monies and not bringing it in. And the moment it shot up, remittances fell through, and we recorded a huge remittances within those periods. Second paragraph, I will just read the second paragraph. I think the last sentence. This means that the BOG will channel FX inflows into the market in an orderly and transparent way without influencing the exchange rate trend. Is someone accusing you of influencing the exchange rate trend? The old rules or framework wasn't transparent and orderly. I mean, I want to understand this press release on the 11th of November. That kind of tells me to pinch myself and say, wake up. We are not out of the woods. People can still get reckless. And I am doing this because we need to stay focused. Businesses have suffered, and if you stand at the side of businesses and you see the improvement coming, our unemployment can be solved by keeping a good economic environment for businesses to operate. Having proper tax laws that will ensure that profits made are pushed back into production. Then,
and you have to wrap up on that.
Right. Then let me jump on. I can keep speaking, so let me just.
I realize that's how I am.
Let me just conclude on this. In the 2025 budget, there was this 24-hour economy program and the Volta corridor, I think, industrialization projects in there. I feel it is missing some way. I was looking for a better direction, an implementation on it. But we are being told by this budget to wait, that it is coming. We are waiting, but I think that it is time we get out there and pronounce some clarity on this issue, because now it is becoming something else rather than the Volta corridor industrialization thing. It is becoming something that looks like export-driven whatever, and that is where I will end. Look, we have the iPass. I think we developed it, African countries develop it, where we can have a payment system to trade amongst ourselves without the use of the US dollar, which I thought it was brilliant. So that coupled with AFTA, do you know that when Nigerians move to Ghana to buy goods here and take it back to Nigeria, it's not considered as export? You are supposed to pay VAT, which makes them uncompetitive and therefore pushes them to smuggle rather to go through the means, the proper means for revenue generation. Now, if you travel to the UK and you buy some stuff for yourself and you are coming out of the UK and you can show receipts and what have you, it is refunded for you. So why can't we do that so that we elevate trade within the West African region? Yet those same goods going to Europe will get there without VAT because it is going to Europe.
Sorry, I know you have a lot to say, but we have to leave it here. Now, the promise the finance minister makes, I think 5, will sustain fiscal discipline and debt sustainability. It goes ahead to say, we will build and sustain a resilient and inclusive economy. We will deepen structural reforms to modernize the economy. We will strengthen social protection so that the most vulnerable, particularly women, children, and the poor, are shielded from hardship. And 5, will maintain flexible exchange rate regime and prudent monetary policy. Well, so those are the 5 things he says they will focus on, particularly with the new budget. Let me move to the second knee number 2.
My senior brother Nee has spoken very well as a nationalist and truthfully. But you know, sometimes, in fact, I'm beginning to believe that the African is not capable of managing his own affairs. It's true. In all honesty, I'm beginning to have that feeling. Because what we heard from our senior brother Atu yesterday is not different from what we heard from the former finance minister in 2017. It's not different from what we heard from Bahredu in 2004. Or what we heard from Osafo Mafo in 2001. It's as if when you win power, you come to power, they package you, they give you all the packages, they give you all the good ratings to see where you'd fall, and when they are not too happy with you, they start changing the structures, and then you collapse. Literally, you know, because, yes, I mean, he spoke very well, he gave some ideas and all that, but they are not transformative enough. They're not transformative. These are managements. You know, it's like managing the status quo, managing the situation so that, I mean, it looks good in the eyes of our people and it looks good in the eyes of the people that are micromanaging at the back of the table. Because at the back of the table is IMF. Watch our election patterns. 2 years before an election, IMF takes over. 2 years into the new government, IMF gives you space and you go and run around and see whether you can actually manage yourself or not. Within 6 years, you are back at IMF. It is a pattern that has been going on for the last maybe 30 years. So I'm beginning to believe really and truly, strongly, that we are not in a position to manage ourselves. Otherwise, our economic managers must prove me wrong. They should prove me wrong. I'm not saying there are no positives. There are a lot of positives. We see the macroeconomic stability, single-digit inflation, all these things, improved reserves and all that, you know. But the crux of the matter is that these things, how are we going to sustain them into the future and in the long term? How do you sustain them into the future and into the long term? We've had a big windfall with gold and cocoa. Gold has shot from $1,700 to almost $4,000 an ounce. Cocoa similarly. According to our gold board, we have accrued over 8.something billion. In fact, in the budget, it was said $11 billion on the back of gold. How have we used that resource judiciously to turn the fortunes of our people around? A few moments ago, we were speaking about unemployment. It's job creation. What is job creation? Manufacturing. I didn't hear anything big on manufacturing. No. That is where the crux of the matter lies. The economies that have been able to create millions of jobs for their people and brought them out of poverty have been able to do so through manufacturing. Whether it's Japan post Second World War, South Korea post the Korea War, Vietnam today, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, all of them. Is manufacturing. And manufacturing is anchored on the back of cheap energy. At least I heard the finance minister talk about 1,200 megawatts power plants that will come in. I hope that it is purely for industrialization. The 21,000 youth that went to kneel down at ELWAC, if you give them manufacturing jobs, they will not go to ELWAC. And that is what can absorb these people. Our labor is cheap compared to anywhere in the world. Our labor is one of the cheapest. People take home the equivalent of $50 or $75 a month in Ghana. And that is like a week's salary in a place like even China today, where we say labor is cheap. So labor in Ghana is cheaper. So we should focus on manufacturing. And that's what I was hoping to hear. That's the economic transformative ideas that I was hoping to hear from the finance minister. Yes, he made some suggestions of developing palm plantations and all that. Malaysia and Co went through that path. They've done that. Their palm is our cocoa. But go to Malaysia today, palm is a small percentage of their GDP. Palm is a small percentage of their GDP. The focus is on manufacturing. They produce everything. And the central bank has a role to play in that as well. Support banks to lend to manufacturers. Because you have 10,000 manufacturers producing 1,000 jobs. That's over 10 million jobs. Easily. And it can be done. So, we need cheap energy. We need tax breaks for manufacturers so that we create the value. Because the value that comes out of manufacturing, for example, if you take a country like Bangladesh, they do a lot of garments. All the clothes that we wear come from Bangladesh. All the jeans that are sewn from Bangladesh. It employs 18 million people directly. The ancillary jobs that comes with it, if you can double it. 18 million people. Almost half the population of Ghana in one industry. Yet they make over $35 billion from that industry alone. Cocoa cannot give us 35 billion. Gold cannot give us 35 billion. If gold will give us 35 billion, the whole Ghana, people will dig everywhere, including the Jubilee House, to look for gold. So we have to really think outside the box. We cannot be doing the same thing over and over and over again for 60 years and expect new results. No. So yes, palm plantations and all that is good, but that is not where the transformation will come from. The transformation will come from manufacturing, industrialization. Industrialization, whether private sector-led, state-led, whatever it is, industrialization. And that is where the focus should be. So, and not even just agro-industrialization. That's good. But today's agro-industrialization is not manpower. It is mechanized. You don't need more than 3% of the Ghanaian population in agriculture. So you can't say that because agriculture employs 60% of our population, we should grow that space alone. No, we cannot grow that space with 60% of our people doing agriculture. If 60% of our people are going to do agriculture, it's a waste of their time and their lives. Just 3-4% of our population should be in agriculture. And the bulk of our people should be in productive activity, manufacturing, industrialization. So we need bold leaders with bold initiatives and bold ideas to reset Ghana for the growth and jobs that the budget was supposed to, to churn out. There are some projects that he outlined, like the Nkoko Nketenkete project. It's just populism. We have done the Nkoko Nketenkete and its types from Kwame Nkrumah's days to today. Different types of it. Even under Akufo-Addo's government, there was a similar program. Because you are competing with a Brazilian farmer, poultry farmer, who is producing 1 million birds a week. He's sending 1 million birds to the slaughterhouse a week. So your unit cost and his unit cost are not the same. You can produce your Nkoko Nketenkete in Ghana and make a loss. And somebody will bring chicken from Brazil and make a profit because of the volumes and the numbers that is being produced. The base material for animal husbandry, in fact, animal protein, is soya. So I heard something on that as well, which I thought was good. But you have to maybe integrate backwards. Import soya for some time whilst you produce cheaper protein sources for your feed industry, and then grow from there. So those were the things that I was also expecting to hear from the finance ministry. If you really and truly want to give us a transformative budget, that is what we want to hear, so that at the end of the day, we would be able to kill many birds with one stone, create jobs, create wealth, improve on our forex and exchange rates. Yes, I'll say I've even personally benefited from the drop in exchange rates, because last year I went to the UK for a program, and the ticket cost me about 80,000 cedis. It was, let's say, $5,000. It was about 80,000 cedis. This year I went to the same program last week, and it cost me 50,000 Ghana cedis. So yes, there's been some positivity there. But is that judicious use of our 8 billion or 11 billion to show up the currency for people to go and import goods from outside or wherever? That 8 billion could have been spent judiciously on maybe, for example, guaranteeing more electricity, cheaper electricity. The 1,200 megawatts plants, maybe 3 or 4 of them. 1,200 megawatts plants, 3 or 4 companies, large-scale companies, can consume all that power. Some university campuses around the world can consume all this electricity. If you go to a city like Dubai, they are doing 20,000 megawatts just for the city, not the whole UAE. 20,000 megawatts and more. Vietnam, because industrialization is built on the back of energy. So that 8 billion or 11 billion could have been spent in that space. Build 2-3 big power plants that we know will guarantee electricity, and go and look for private investors or help Ghanaian investors to consume the electricity and manufacture. Maybe export to some of our neighbors. So I want to tie it into what my brother was saying. And there's a lot of space and room, but it is fragile. Where we are today, it is fragile. We shouldn't be patting ourselves in the back that all is good. No. We are working on tenterhooks. If indeed we're able to sustain it for more, over a 5-year period or even 3-year period, then we would have some, a 5-year period would be better than a 3-year period. Let's say a 5-year period. With all these things I'm talking about coupled in, that the focus is there, we are manufacturing, we are producing jobs, we are creating wealth, and all the cycles that come with it, then we will be able to say that the budget is transformative. Yes, it's good. Some jobs will be created, but we should be looking at the wider, bigger picture. I wanted to add a few things on the nurses and the unemployment issue with the teachers as well. Countries like the Philippines had similar issues, had similar models. Philippines, when you take all the C men in the world today, 90% of them are Filipinos. Every ship under the sun is literally run by a Filipino. Why? Because they also had similar problems. They couldn't employ their people within their economy, and were able to turn them out to the world. In fact, Ghana, at some point in time, during the Black Star Line era, also imported some Filipino seamen. So in Tema, we have their offsprings there. So, and Koreans, no, they were Filipinos, many Filipinos, yes. So, it's a model that has worked in other places, where people go out there to work, and they bring remittances home, because your economy is not big enough to take them. However, we should be able to create that space for them here. And that space will be created when we have opened up the economy, we have grown the economy. When we have taken bold decisions to expand industrialization. Because if we can afford to employ them, we'll be able to afford to pay them as well. So, Senna, I'll commend the finance minister. Just as my brother said, the test actually comes after next year. After next year, when there's no IMF, when they can borrow on their own steam and be able to develop. I've seen a few things that the government is pushing out, the big push projects and all that. They are laudable. I mean, we are far way behind when it comes to infrastructure. Under no circumstances should people be driving on single-lane roads in Ghana. I mean, it doesn't make sense. One on this lane and the other one on this lane. I mean, it should never happen. But I've seen that this new government has really done a lot of work on that infrastructure space. It shouldn't end with a big push and the Accra-Kumasi corridor. I saw a video with the minister's voice being played over.
The expressway.
Exactly, the expressway. It shouldn't end with that. We should also look at rail. Create industrial centers. Every region should have an industrial park. The size of maybe twice or three times Tema. Every region should be able to do that. There's enough resources to create industries in all those places. On our Volta Lake alone, all the way to the north, to Buipe, we should have a big inland port somewhere in Buipe and put vessels on the lake that will carry goods to the north. You can have a whole port as big as the MPS port in Tema, in Buipe. That becomes a multimodal terminal up north. So goods coming from the south that is going to, let's say, Mali, Burkina, and Co. No trucks need to come down by the road. We send them on rail in Pakadan. They go on vessels. They go up north to Buipe, and then you go and pick your goods from there. So it falls back to what Uncle Kwesi was saying: thinking. We need to think to solve the problems. We need to think to create the wealth that the jobs that Ghanaians need, and to create the wealth that Ghanaians are craving for. And so let's all put our shoulder to the wheel and see what best we can do. However, I was making a comment about the central bank and how they can also help develop industrialization in Ghana. There's something that the Japanese did called window guidance, where the Japanese, post-Second World War, directed their central banks or their commercial banks to lend to particular industries. That's what the Chinese also copied. That's what the Singaporeans did. That's what the Koreans did. They lend to particular industries. So, for example, if somebody wants to produce mobile phones in Ghana and produce ships in Ghana, whatever, when he goes to the sends his proposal to the bank, the rate at which he pays for his loan is not the same as somebody who wants to use that money to, for example, build a school or buy a car. So, yes, there might be a published rate, but the government literally guarantees those investments by reducing the rates or giving them specific rates so that they are able to grow. And when they grow other ancillary businesses alongside. And that's how the economies grew. And so that is what we should also be copying. And I would end it there.
Thank you.
Sana, thank you.
I was just about to tell you that.
Yeah, I realized your time is running out. So
anyway, were you part of the 88?
Yes, I was part of the 88.
Great.
I was number 22.
Number 22. You don't remember the 88?
I was 22. No, Carlos was 22 and I was 23.
The ones who wanted Ken for your time.
Ken must go.
Who bottled it?
We didn't bottle it.
And you bottled it?
No. Yes, we achieved our aim.
No, you bottled it.
No, this is Nana P.S. Santo, I think, commenting on your proposal for us to go into manufacturing. Says we cannot go into manufacturing without the infrastructure, without the raw materials to feed the industry.
No.
With the coup for those 8 years of waste, we cannot jump into manufacturing. In politics, theory should be backed by
No. Let me answer him. You see,
Don't worry. So, I was actually enjoying it when Yahweh was speaking and he said his time was up. He was not the only one who was really enjoying. I was really enjoying it. And after listening to my brother, I don't know why he's an MVP. He should come to UP. He should forget the MVP because I don't know why he's in the MVP, in this MVP, because you see when my brother Solo says that we should expunge Nanado, people don't understand. I get what. Because you see, the fraud, listen, and that's why I say you shouldn't be there. Because when they came into power, 2017, Rantamantin laid out a 10-point industrialization agenda, which included this the diversification of the base of our economy. What was because you see, sometimes you know in this country, you are part of the government, but the role every government plays in any economy is in terms of two things: the fiscal policy, the fiscal and the monetary. You know, the monetary, Bank of Ghana, you government, you can't really, if you are doing things well, government should be able to control Bank of Ghana in terms of the monetary. So where the politician leader really has a hand in is in your fiscal. How do you raise money? How do you spend money? And we see your commitments are the things you talk about in how you spend. How much money did Nanado Akufo-Addo put in this beautifully aligned 10-point industrialization agenda? So you made a point. Yesterday, one I listened to Amin Antai. If he was standing by my face, I'm very cool. I'm a very calm person. But if he was standing by, I would have slapped him. Yeah, but what I hate is people who want to pull a fast, like you are telling that I'm stupid. And that's what they signed an agreement with the IMF to do what? And the IMF is reneging on all those. Listen, now mentioned that there are some. I know my brother well. He has and what he believes in. You understand what he believes in? Anyway, it's a lawyer client's privilege, so I can't go further. But you have no business being in this MPP. You have no business being in this MPP. And they would rather say that I allow national service. Because that 2.2 million, why we didn't have structures in place that could have identified that 2.2 million was being siphoned. Billion. I can't believe that it's billion. I can't believe that. Meanwhile, you have a minister who puts in place a comprehensive 10-point industrialization agenda. You understand? Right. Now, indeed, under Akufo, they try some. This palm thing that we're talking about. Under Akufo, they try some, which gains some level of success. So, what was Nanado's issue in sitting and not allowing this? The car issue. The assembly plants thing. In fact, the government was actually even fighting against it. Because all the things they promised, we'll give you these exemptions. How many of those exemptions did they give? So when people there, they have absolutely no moral basis. They should allow some of us. And then we say we are fortunate. We have Nia boy. He's. If there's something about Alhaji, you have a way of bringing on board nationalists. So he's NDC, but he's given his honest view about and unless we give that opposition, how will people forget to? It will be the last opposition. I'm telling you, it will be and so the good ones they should leave them. They won't do that. Allah said it's a declined party. It's a party in coma. Forget about them. Let's do serious business here. Okay, now to the budget. My lay view about the budget. Because after the technicians have spoken, I have to say clearly that is a lay view about the budget. So if I take a wrong step in terms of the technical side, forgive me, I'm a layman. Now, so I think the budget has come on the back of what's called a very disciplined period in the life of this country. I agree with you when you say that it's the same cycle. Well, so near MPP. It's the same cycle that is repeating itself in terms of, because there's IMF, we seem to be disciplined, and then the real test will be when there's no longer what's called IMF. Indeed, over the past 10 months, I've been amazed at the level of discipline, and if they are going to continue, then at least I believe that the black man is after all capable of managing his own affairs. We still not able to manage our affairs because really we are colonized again in a new form of colonization. You understand? So the IMF are then, they are just remote controlling us, and maybe the thinker people, because they are raising issues with, if I have extra what's called balance, I want to use it to stabilize. Why must it be an issue? After I see back doors and you explain to me why that is an issue. Because if I managed to amass over almost $11 billion reserve, and the dollar is struggling, why must I not be able to fall on that to stabilize things? But the focus of the budget is seen in the thing. They are saying that they are resetting for growth, for jobs, and economic transformation. I think we all agree here that this budget cannot bring about transformation. Because when I talk about transformation, I just talk about a process that was going to take resources from low productive sectors of the economy to high productive sectors of the economy. My personal view about this budget is more still about consolidation. That's my personal view, that the budget is still about consolidation, and they want to attempt some growth within a very tight fiscal space. They've given very tight targets. They are saying that they expect a GDP growth of at least 4.8%. They are saying that non-oil growth will be around 4.9%, inflation 8%, primary surplus 1.5% of GDP, and reserve of at least 3 months import cover. Now these are ambitious but nice. Now when it comes to the non-oil, the oil issue, you made a point that in the 2025 budget, they set a target of an oil projection of about 73. In this budget, strangely, they are projecting the oil, they're using an oil price of about 76, where the global oil target is 70. That is a problem. Because supposing the pricing we even get an oil price of 73, that $3 times the number of barrel will lead to a huge in the expected revenue. You understand? And for me, that is a massive risk, and that's why you're talking. Maybe you should give me more time to even. Was this budget, as in the risk elements in this budget, is really huge because again, they've done well. We must commend them. The COVID levy is no longer there. VAT rate has been reduced. Not just reduced, they've actually increased if you're a business and I think your revenue income is less than 750,000, you are off.
They've unified the rates.
No, but even the threshold has been
to be able to charge VAT.
VAT has been increased.
Beyond 700.
It used to be 200,000.
They've increased the threshold.
They've increased the threshold now. Fantastic. So, which is positive in a way, maybe, but then it means that GRA 2 must be very, very efficient. Well, that's what it means. And I'll see you again. But I mean that GRA has to be really efficient. That's how I'm.
This naturally makes them efficient. It is complex for any small trader to actually comply with the previous tax regime in terms of VAT. Now it has been made very simplified.
Now, another good thing they are saying, they've told where they are going to spend money to bring about the growth. They said they're going to spend on the energy sector. They're going to spend money on commercial agri. They're going to spend money on infrastructure. They're going to spend money on
education.
No, I mean, first of all, even if we go to the social side, they're going to spend money on tree planting, on tree planting and crop planting. Yeah, tree crop.
The power is part of the tree crop.
Exactly. Now, and they are doing all this within a very small what's called fiscal space. You understand? So in a way, so I get them. As in, it's not big transformation, but at least it's a little step towards transformation, because with the very small resources they are putting those resources into sectors that are meant to be more productive than so. And what's called so, but for the Rex elements, because you are talking about in all this, you are expecting a surplus of 1.5% of GDP. It means that there's very little room for error or for the external shocks, especially when it has to do with the forex issue. We are doing so well in terms of our external financial position because of gold and cocoa. But having said that, for me, I see positives with this palm thing, because it is a very small step at diversifying the same economy that we are all crying about, and also at the back of a reckless management of the economy. What do we expect them to do? Because we ought to be very realistic also. You understand? So for me, my view about the budget is that, my lay view is that it's more about consolidation of the fiscal discipline as against any radical transformation, and that if they're able to continue at least with their fiscal discipline, like NIB projected, within the next 5 years, then we should be in a position to then undertake that radical, because it's a long-term thing. It's not a short-term what's called issue. It's a long-term agenda. But for now, they need to put us in a position where we can then take those radical transformational programs. I'm going to end. But I beg the NPP. We are not in the mood for the normal politicking. Right now, we are about building our nation. When we say that politics is about doing everything in your power to build a strong state, it does not. That burden is not just on government. That burden is also on opposition. You understand? And so far, they are not giving us any credible opposition that suggests that they've changed from their familiar spirit character. And that's what I'm going to call me. Fortunately, I know him personally. He's very passionate about this country. Because if politics was about just what you are going to make, then really he was not in a position, as in that position where he had to. He was doing very well. He's doing very well with his private business, and you understand. But he came into politics because of a passion to transform Ghana. I believe that passion is still there, and because that passion is still there, he should forget about the NPP. He should come to the UP. You understand? And we can all together join forces with all Ghanaians who have that same passion, irrespective of the parties they belong in, to build a strong state that can take care of the individual ambitions of its citizens. I'm done.
Thank you.
To that
very interesting note to conclude. Anyway, let me just go through. Let me just say a big thank you to Kiss 89.7 FM in Takoradi, Shine FM in Akachi 96.9, Hills FM in Adakulis on 91.7. Nyawasi Radio in Katekrachi 89.7 FM, Sela Radio Dabala 97.1, Diamond FM in Tamale on 93.7, Bawa Radio Yendi 106.5, Radio Kitawon Saboba 95.7, Benya FM Elmina 105.7, Global FM 105.1 in Ho, Zeps FM 95.9 in Zebila, True FM 92.5 in Adeso, Lamara FM 89.1 in Triponi, Boem 88.7 FM in Jessica, and Lukusi 96.1 in Virgo Lukwati, Tyne FM 90.9, Sekbala FM 104.3, Akmini Radio in Pando, and Denyuba Radio 90.9 FM, and of course OT Radio in Dambai. We are live on all these radio stations. Mr. Pratt?
Well, I mean, the time we have is not sufficient for a truly comprehensive analysis of the 2026 budget. So I'm going to focus attention on just the main issues that spring from the budget. And the first thing I'd like to comment about is last night, I saw a video of an MPP member of parliament, a lady MPP member of parliament, who was asked to comment on the budget. And she said, look, go to the market, the prices are the same. Nothing has changed, in spite of the fact that they've read the budget and so on. And I was wondering, how did this woman get into parliament? Why? This woman is an Article 71 office holder. She's sitting in the parliament. She doesn't know that what was read was the 2026 budget. She doesn't know. She doesn't know that as of yesterday, the budget had not been approved. Amazing. And she's one of those people going to make a decision as to whether the budget should be approved or not. And she doesn't even know when the budget will come into effect. And she's going to make that decision. You know, so any wonder, why do we wonder about the quality of life? The people who approve the budget, some of them don't actually know what a budget is. They don't know what a budget is. So this is one of the fundamental problems. Forget what was read. Those empowered to approve it. So how is she going to approve the budget? She's going to look at Afenyomakin, and whatever Afenyomakin says, she will follow. When Afenyomakin says, let's walk out, she will walk out. Without even understanding the issues involved. This is a big, big problem. You understand? But let's be serious. I have said that this business of going to the polls every 4 years to elect a government is a waste. Complete waste. Because for a very long time, as a matter of fact, since we got rid of Achampong, this government has had only one government. And that government has always been the IMF and the World Bank. So when we go to the polls in 4 years and we vote, what we actually do is to change the face of the government. But the government itself remains intact. You understand? And that is true. And in fact, all my other colleagues on this panel have said so in different ways. Okay? You elect a government. By the time the government comes into power, there's already an IMF program that it must follow. It follows it for 1 year, sometimes 2 years, and then it says, oh, we are leaving the IMF, and so on. In a couple of months, they come back and tell you that they have to go to the IMF, and they give all kinds of rationalizations. Sometimes they say, oh, we are only going for policy validation. Sometimes they say all kinds of things. We are not following them and all. But the truth of the matter is that it's the IMF which is in charge. Okay? And they're in charge for nothing. They give you $300 million and they control your economy, which is much, much bigger than $300 million. And so on. And so now, the other thing that I say is simply this. Take Ghana. We've been to the IMF 18 times. And the problem we first took to the IMF is still with us and getting worse. What does that tell you? One, either the IMF is a bunch of incompetent technocrats. They don't know the solution, because after 18 times, the problem is still there and is growing. So they don't know the solution. They are just purely incompetent. Or the IMF was designed for this particular purpose of keeping us down. So that the force of capitalism can continue to control us. These are the only two possible reasons. I'm looking forward to a day when the rule of the IMF and the World Bank will come to an end. And we'll have our own government in office doing the will of our people, initiating policy, and doing the things which would lift us from the levels of poverty we have sunk into, to a new era in which no child will go to bed on an empty stomach. I'm really, truly looking forward to that day. Now, I've said that there has not been any significant paradigm change. Indeed, there hasn't been a paradigm change at all. Okay? It's the same paradigm. What is the difference? And I believe firmly that the difference is in the fact that there's a more competent management of the paradigm. You understand? The same paradigm. But management styles, competence level, and so on are different. And you can see that for yourself. I mean, I don't have to say it. I'm one person who has always insisted that macroeconomic indicators are not the best way of judging an economy. And that essentially these indicators are statistical averages. And statistical averages hide a lot. They reveal very little. They hide a lot. So, for example, when we are told that per capita income has increased in a given year, what does it mean? It doesn't show the imbalance between those at the bottom and those at the top. You understand? It doesn't reveal that, so it doesn't tell the full truth and so on. So I do not want to rely on macroeconomic indicators to make a judgment as to whether living standards have improved or fallen. But even as I say so, macroeconomic indicators tell a certain story. Okay? They don't tell the whole story. They don't describe the life of the underprivileged and so on, but they still tell a story. And what is that story? The story is that there's movement in the economy. Which class benefits from that movement is another matter, but there's movement in the economy. Okay. And if you're looking at movements in the economy, one of the things that we can look at is the value of our national currency. And who today would doubt that the value of our national currency has improved significantly? From 17 cedis to $1, we are now down to 10 cedis to $1 in a matter of 9 months. That is something. This is a dream that Dr. Bawumia could not turn to reality. That's a fact. From opposition to government, all he spoke about was the value of the cedi. You understand? His first days in office as vice president, he said he had arrested the cedi and locked it in a prison and given the key to the IGP and so on. You remember? And yet, by the end of that tenure, the cedi was exchanging at 17 to $1, when actually they took power at a time when the cedi was less than 4 cedis to $1. So this is something significant, at least within the context of bourgeois economics. Within the context of bourgeois economics and so on, you can see a better management of the national economy. And then, my brother, can you believe that in a period of 9 months, we have hit single-digit inflation? I mean, I didn't think that it was possible. In all honesty, I didn't think that it was possible. But we have hit single-digit inflation. You understand? It doesn't tell the full story. It doesn't mean that all the 21,000 unemployed persons who rush to LWAC have jobs. They don't have jobs. It doesn't mean that 150,000 nurses can be deployed. You understand? But the fact is that in a period of 9 months, we have hit single-digit inflation. And that there was another government which could not do that. That's clear. Okay? Now, some of the things that I heard in the budget statement, which excited me, had to do with road infrastructure and the declared commitment to improve road infrastructure. I've been wondering, the 2 biggest cities in Ghana, 2 biggest commercial and economic centers in Ghana, Kumasi and Accra, look at how they are linked by road. Amazing, unbelievable. Kumasi and Accra.
That's true.
I mean, unbelievable. If you have good roads, we should be able to do Accra Kumasi in 2 hours. And yet today, depending on what vehicle you are using and the skills of your driver, you can spend 5 hours on that road. Look at the wastage. Now we are told that in a matter of 2 years or thereabout, we will have a new highway linking the 2 cities. Why can't I be happy about this development? This is an important development. It's a development which will make me happy. And it's not just Accra Kumasi. Cape Coast, Takoradi. Why? Takoradi is a major center, major port. We spend millions rehabilitating the Takoradi port. If we cannot link Takoradi and other places of extraction, of production, and so on, with good roads and railway networks and so on, all the millions we spent on the Takoradi rehabilitation exercise will be useless. So I'm happy that this has begun. You know, and it's about the big push project and so on. So I'm very happy about that. There are many other projects that excite me. For example, this idea of building 24-hour markets in all the more than 200 districts of this country. Modern markets operating on a 24-hour basis. It's an exciting development. Clearly exciting development. And I'm happy that it is happening. There is this commitment to build 200 new secondary schools. When was the last time we started building secondary schools in this country? 200 of them in 1 year. Excuse me. Now, if we continue like this, very soon we will not have this problem with placements and so on. You understand? And then the provision of furnishing and so on, it's exciting. This is an exciting time. Yes, I can understand the reservations about the Nkukwan Kitinkiti program and so on, that really, it does not fully address the nutritional needs of our country. I agree. Why? I checked the statistics 3 days ago. We are spending $400 million every year importing poultry products. 400 million. Now, if that money was to stay in the domestic economy, can you imagine its impact? $400 million every year bringing in poultry products. So the Nkoko Kitinkiti project may not lead to big things and so on, but I remember the backyard gardening project that the Achampon government introduced under Operation Feed Yourself and Feed Your Industries project, and its impact on the national economy. And I want to see the Nkoko Kitinkiti project as a revisit of the Achampon program, backyard gardening. Look, in those days, people were cutting their rose flowers and planting corn. Everywhere you went, somebody was planting anything, everything in their houses, planting cassava, planting plantains, and so on. And it did make an impact on the national economy. And I'm hoping that this project will be properly guided, properly supervised, to help us make an impact. You see, if you listen to poultry farmers, one of their biggest frustrations has to do with the production of feed. I don't know to what extent feed production has been considered as an integral part of this Nkoko Kitinkiti project, but it's important. You understand? And when you're talking about feed, what are you talking about? The last time I watched a television program about feed production, and I'm told that the trick has to do with the moisture level of what is used to produce the feed and so on. That there's a trick in that. But this is something that we can do. You understand? We can very easily do, and I want to see that happen. Okay? The directive that all of our local institutions should use local food is an important directive. Why? Because, and Sana, you know that, I heard that on your morning show. Farmers are complaining, they produce rice is not being bought, they produce maize is not being bought, and so on. Eggs, and so on. The effect of that is that these farmers next year are not going to produce these same things, and we are going to become heavily import dependent. So if government has a mechanism of ensuring that what is produced is bought, is either consumed or conserved in silos or whatever, that's an incentive to stimulate local production. And there's no reason why we shouldn't eat our own rice. Because all the studies I have seen indicate that local rice is far more nutritious than the imported rice. It may taste differently, but taste is acquired. It's because we have been fed with these kinds of rice. That's why we've gotten used to it. It's not about quality, it's about taste. And very soon we will get used to the taste. And indeed, I mean, local rice,
I think the local rice in real terms are sweeter than the Polish. It's just the fragrance we go for.
That's what I was going to say. I mean, local rice, I don't want to advertise some people's rice on this program. But you eat it, it's even fluffy. It tastes fluffy in the mouth. You know, that's a fantastic taste which we could cultivate. You understand? So, I have some hope. I have some hope that some things will change. They will change for the better. Even as there's no paradigm shift. You understand? Even as there's no paradigm shift. And I want to see a situation where the overburdensome privilege of the elite is cut. I want to see that happen. The privileges of the elite have become overburdensome and they need to be cut. I know that some directives have been given to that effect, but we need to do more. I know, for example, about the directive which has been given about petrol allocation to appointees. I think it's in the right direction. If it's properly enforced, strictly enforced, it may be good. You understand? But we need to do a lot more. And I want to see a situation where all the top public servants who go for leave abroad, that situation should be cancelled immediately. 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 It doesn't make sense.
Thank you. And after the historical background you gave, it makes that even much more funny, to be very frank. The historical background alone means that sometimes we just keep doing things because others were doing it. That doesn't make sense.
Yeah, that's all. No thinking.
It doesn't make sense at all. Anyway, thank you very much. Thank you very much. There are many analysts who we speak to who are happy about the fact that this budget does the simple things well. Education analysts who say they are happy that there's a focus on foundational levels of education. Because under the Akufo-Addo regime, there was so much focus on secondary at the detriment of the foundational levels. They are happy about that. That makes them happy. And also the rules matter is a big deal to many people. I also realized that they are planning to do 3 garment factories that the minister also announced. So there's some interesting.
There's also a plan to build a thermal plant.
Yes, 1,100 megawatts. That's
so
amazing.
it's interesting. All those things are interesting.
Great.
They should do it. Let's promise. That's the other important thing.
Yeah.
You understand? Yeah, the promises sound nice and so on. They should do it.
We should not also forget about the solar side of it.
Yeah. Once again, okay. So once again, condolences to. We have to conclude the show. Condolences to Solomon Owusu, who has been a big part of this show for many years now. He lost his sister, and they're doing the 1-week observance today. So condolences to him. When we are done, we would also pass by.
That's what I didn't tell anybody. Oh, he told you?
I'm surprised that he didn't tell you.
No.
Okay. Even Don did not know.
Maybe I'm in his bad books.
Oh, no, not at all. It escaped him.
Wretched bad book.
It escaped him.
It escaped him.
So our condolences to him. And of course also to happy 70th birthday. Belated was yesterday to Mr. Kofi Totobi Kwachi.
Oh.
Yes. Whose birthday was yesterday. Happy 70th birthday to him. And of course, a big thank you to Kwame Kwesi Prajina, who is General Secretary of the Socialist Movement of Ghana. And to, it's interesting nowadays when we have you people on the show, the UP, every time you are doing recruitments on the platform, I think we have to charge you a fee for it.
I don't know what will come down. I'm listening to him. I don't know the name of the Yasgo business being where he is.
He's Director Legal and Constitutional Affairs of the United Party, Andrews Apia Dankwa. And of course, a big thank you to Ninoy Hansenote, who is one member of Parliament for Tama Central, and sitting to my immediate left is Ni Yaboy Anan of Odododio, member of the NDC, a financial analyst. A big thank you for your time. And of course, the one thing people never understood was that I realized that the disagreement of the 88 was said to be an issue of you people raising questions of credibility. But there were fundamental disagreements of how Ken Ofoyata was running the economy that was never discussed for many of them. When you listen to them subsequently, you realize that there were this huge departure from how the economy was managed at the time. Anyway, we are back same time next week with another edition of Alhaji and Alhaji. No matter of all talk shows, big thank you to our affiliate stations. Don't forget, the show was live on Pan-African Television and of course live on Radio Gold 90.5 FM. I am Senna Nombo.
He has labored, he has suffered to lead his people into the land of freedom.